Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. This could spark the next gold and silver revolution. Let's explore! That sounds awful dramatic, and obviously I would understand if you're a bit skeptical, as I sort of am as well. But nonetheless, there are things happening, and in the world that we live in today, there are a myriad of different signs that could lead us to a gold and silver revolution. And I'm going to talk about just one of those. But we think about what we already know. We are increasing debt at the most rapid rate in human history, not only here in the United States, but other nations around the world with their currencies. None of our currencies today are backed by anything other than government decree. And so we have to ask ourselves, how long can this last? It's a big question we've been asking ourselves for quite some time, and no one really has the answer. And so far, governments have been quite okay with spending your money and creating it out of thin air. And that is something that will continue to happen, and they'll do it as long as they can until it doesn't work anymore. But there's other signs out there. We have geopolitical unrest. We have this worldwide pandemic we're dealing with. And there's other factors and other things happening behind the scenes that make us wonder, how long can this go on? But nonetheless, I think we have another sign here that is taking place in the mining sector. And the mining sector is quite an interesting space. It's a space that is very complex in many different ways. There's a lot of geology involved, and I feel that those of you who have an interest in this sector, it's something you have familiarized yourself with very, very intimately, because a lot of these mines, it's their success or failure depends on geology. Not only that, but also geopolitics and internal politics to what happens wherever the nations that the metals are being extracted from the ground. The mining sector is interesting. People have asked me if I've ever thought about investing in mining stocks, and my feeling is that mining stocks are kind of like just regular stocks. You have to be intimately aware of the company and everything that's involved in the mining sector and have a great knowledge in that area to be able to make a wise investment in that sector. But I tell you what, right now is a good time to be in the mining stocks, or at least it was probably in March when there was this big economic downturn. I read recently from FX Empire about this, a very thing about the precious metals miners took a beating when the COVID first reared its ugly head in the U.S. in March. And, with these mine closures and restrictive measures throughout the mining supply chain, not to mention a disastrous fall in travel, had adversely affected mining operations. Falling asset prices, which had also spread into the precious metal sector, did not help margins for the miners, who could still operate in the constrained economy. But the rising precious metal prices since March have buoyed the mining sector, which have begun to see sharp upwards ticks across the popular mining funds. We will look at several of them and get an idea of the return investors have had over the last couple of months. And it goes into some chart action activity, but if you look at all of these charts here, they are all higher than they were pre-COVID 19, and it is fascinating to see. And what does that tell us? That means that there is a lot of activity going on, and people are guessing that we're going to see precious metals demand increase out there. And that is good news for many of us who've been watching and waiting for precious metal prices to increase. Most of us have already started to see this happen with gold, but it could mean that gold could surge much higher than it is right now. And who knows, it may take silver along with it. Now, silver to gold ratio is at record highs still, right around 100 to 1. And though it may not mean that the ratio may squeeze, silver could go along for the ride at the present ratio. And that could still be a very good thing, for sure. But silver is a very volatile metal here. And, it talks about juniors and the mining sectors out there and how they have done well. The consistency in this article is about the charts. They are literally almost off the charts with these miners. But it does talk about silver as being the more volatile of the precious metals from a price perspective, while gold tends to move in comparatively gentle movements. Silver's chart often exhibits more violent price movement tendencies. And this is largely in part to silver's industrial usages, when price movements reflect the future's market expectations of oncoming supply and demand. But many investors still see silver as a monetary metal. And when gold moves steadily to the upside, like it has since the fourth quarter of 2018, silver tends to follow in the same direction. Given the gold-silver ratio being near all-time highs, many precious metal investors feel as though silver has much more room to move to the upside to bring the ratio back down to historic norms. Now, as you know, based off of recent videos and commentaries that I've done, I disagree with that notion. I believe that we probably have passed the point of, even to some extent, no return for the gold to silver ratio. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I should be wrong based off of historical context. But I think enough time has gone by in recent history that it's going to be a lot harder for that ratio to squeeze back down. But of course, it could. For sure, there is certainly more room for it to run to the upside to bring that ratio back down. But nonetheless, the silver miners charts look very similar. And they look similar in that their price upwards is beyond pre-COVID-19 levels. And this could be an indicator of what's to come. We shall see. And now the article here closes off by saying the gold and silver prices heading higher are not to be unexpected given the deflation of the world economy due to the COVID-19 concerns and the shutdowns of various local economies. Both precious metals are living up to their reputations as store of value and safety valves as the global economy lets off some steam. And the author believes that the charts following the confidence of the markets in the COVID-19 economy, the drop in mining equities was likely due to liquidations and fear from an unknown adversary in the virus. The gains in the indexes resulted from increased investment into physical precious metals and their associated funds has pushed the miners higher as more of the supply chains begin to reopen. Now, as they do begin to reopen and the mining activity occurs and we can get more supply out there, we should start to see the premiums go down. Shrinking premiums is certainly going to make us feel better, even if the spot price goes up. Many people in this community have complained about these premiums and hate seeing it and will not make a purchase, even if the price is going to be lower. They'd rather pay a higher higher price for silver or gold with lower premiums than a lower price for silver and gold and higher premiums. For me, it doesn't matter because that's the way the economy works, or that's the way the market works. Is you buy it, I'd rather pay a lower price even if it's paying a higher percentage premium, but that's just me. Nonetheless, conflicting U.S. economic data will continue to support the bullish precious metals equity charts. And we talked about the unemployment numbers, and this gives some perspective here. It says that while there are 4.8 million jobs created, we also have a record number of unemployed and reports of 25,000 retail closures, along with the potential for 85% of independent restaurants to remain permanently closed. This is not good news, folks. This is the wake of the coronavirus economic situation, where there are some permanent closures of business, and this is what we hate to see, for sure. There are going to be some scars from this. It's going to take quite a while to recover from. The damage being done to the economy now is weakening the structure available for a recovery. Despite the encouraging job numbers, it is a drop in the bucket compared to the losses. Given all-time highs in sovereign and corporate debt, it does not appear we are anywhere near out of the woods as we battle the effects of a virus-ravaged economy. In fact, many people feel that, and I as well do feel that largely the stock market is propped up by liquidity from the Fed and stimulus. It would not be a surprise to see the precious metals equities continue to run to the upside. Should be expected until some serious changes in economic fundamentals begin to occur. It's not looking promising that the recovery will occur in the near future, at least in the long run. We live in a 15 minutes of fame instant period where we get news in an instant, and today's great economic news can be squashed very quickly by unencouraging news on another sector of the economy. The markets are very, very fickle, but one thing is for sure: the metals that you see before you, gold and silver, they are what they are. They stand the test of time. As we move forward in this new economic reality and still dealing with the coronavirus, we are challenged to hold up and to do the best we can. Those of us who have stacked precious metals and hold on to them for the long term, we are better off in my view. And so there you have it. I think we are potentially poised based off of these charts that we're seeing with the mining sector. We see increased activity there and more folks accumulating the metal, not only for preservation of wealth and as a monetary metal, but also, especially with regards to silver, for industrial demand and utilization of the metal for ways to help make our lives better. You can think of accumulating the metal both as a commodity, but also for monetary purposes. I think that's the one beautiful thing, especially about silver. Yea, though, gold does have a commodity type of aspect to it as well, and it is utilized in various parts of the economy. But nonetheless, gold is mainly treasured, whereas silver is seen has that dual role that you've heard me talk about time and time again on this channel. So there you have it. Those are the factors that could potentially lead to an increase in attention and an understanding and appreciation of these metals there. Post your thoughts below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to all of you for taking the time to watch. And I want to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.